Winning Daily Podcast. We're here for a special edition episode, the Conference Tournament, Volume 2. Our man Dynamite David is here to break down the conference tournaments this week and give us our best bets on who's going to sneak up and win these big-time tournaments. We did a little bit of it last week in the small conference. Now we bring in David's real expertise, the big conference, including the Big Ten. Dynamite, are you ready to get into the conference tournaments?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. And how about Morehead State?
Yeah, I know. Furman getting bounced by your famous VMI.
There's been some good tournaments so far, and excited to get to the big boys. But I've actually really enjoyed the smaller conferences this year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a little disappointed Loyola Chicago didn't tank the game so Drake could get in the tournament as well and have two represent the MVC. But it is what it is. All right, you ready to get into the conference tournaments for this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's start out with the AAC. We got Houston as the favorite here at minus 250. We got Memphis coming in at plus 500, SMU at plus 600, Wichita State at plus 600, South Florida at plus 2,500, Tulsa at plus 4,000, Cincinnati at plus 8,000, Central Florida at plus 8,000, East Carolina at plus 10,000, Tulane at plus 15,000, and Temple at plus 20,000. So Houston's pretty much dominated this conference all season long. There's been, a handful of teams in here I think could possibly beat them. Where are you looking in this conference tournament right here?
Oh, I got to go with the Temple Owls. You know it? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I do think you've taken them a couple times this year, so...
I think you look at the championship game, could potentially very well be a rematch of yesterday's game. Really good matchup between Houston and Memphis there. But I for value, I as far low as I'd probably go as the championship winner. I like Wichita State. I think they've got the talent to do it. And I just don't know if Memphis can run through a tournament gauntlet and get to that finals team. Finals game. I think Houston's a lock, but who they're going to go against is up for question, I think. But I think I'd go with Wichita State there.
Yeah, I'm in the same line as you. I don't know if Memphis can run a tournament gauntlet like this. They seem to have that down game where they lose one, and I just don't know if they could pull off 3-4 wins in a row here. But every time I underestimate them and take against them, they end up playing that good game and roll somebody. So maybe if I take against them every time, they'll go on and do that. I really like the way Wichita State has played towards the end of the year. They've really probably been the second best team in this conference the last 2 months. SMU, I'm hot and cold on. I don't think either of us have taken SMU very much because they get such large lines, but they've sort of been a little hot and cold as well as Memphis has.
Yeah, I liked SMU a lot better earlier in the year. They played a lot better. Down the stretch, it's been really hit or miss. But I don't know. If I had to choose between the two, you got the same odds. I like Wichita's odds better than.
Yeah, much better. Down lower, Tulsa had a little bit of a run there for about a month stretch in probably January. I think we both were on a little run there and taking them. On there. But they really dropped off the map in February. Any chance Tulsa, Cincinnati, Central Florida, East Carolina probably has the best player in the conference. Now the other 11 guys surrounding him are really poor. But anyway, any of those themes you think can maybe pop up and make a run?
I really don't think outside of the top 4 teams in this conference, you've got much of a contender in this conference tournament. They'll whittle themselves out early. I don't know. Maybe a team gets on a hot streak shooting, but I don't see Cincinnati doing it. They've been pretty much terrible all year. Tulane, so no, I don't think so.
Yeah, the only one I'm looking at is maybe East Carolina because they do have Jadon Gardner, who is a really, really top-notch player. Why he's playing at East Carolina, I don't know. This is what happens when you end up there and you get no support from anybody else. But no, every time I think Cincinnati's about to go on the run, they disappoint for a couple game stretch. Central Florida.
I believe I saw Cincinnati lose by 15-20 against Vanderbilt like a week ago.
Yes, that one was highly disturbing. Central Florida has been a real disappointment this whole year, and the Tulsa I keep staring at because they did have that little run, but I think they've probably been the worst team in the AAC the last month. So, yeah, I think you're probably looking at Houston, Memphis, SMU, and Wichita State here. All right, let's move on to the ACC. This one is very interesting. If you can give me a true favorite, especially after Florida State decided to lose again this week, I will be very interested. You have Florida State as the quote-unquote favorite at plus 250, Virginia at plus 350, Louisville plus 500, Virginia Tech plus 500, North Carolina plus 500, Duke at 1,400, Clemson at 1,400, Georgia Tech at 2,500, Pittsburgh at 2,500, Syracuse at 5,000, North Carolina State at 10,000, Miami, Florida 15,000, Notre Dame 15,000, Boston College 25,000, Wake Forest 25,000. I think you could probably work your way all the way down to Georgia Tech here and talk me into somebody winning this tournament.
Well, you probably won't have to guess too hard without knowing to figure out who I've already put money on that I like in this tournament.
The team you've been taking for 4 weeks straight now.
I don't know how Georgia Tech is this far down. They are playing very well right now. And 25-1 odds, I'm taking that. I've already got my bet in. Now, they are the 4 seed, so they run into Virginia pretty early. And they've played Virginia tight in both games, lost both of them, which actually makes me like Georgia Tech a little more because it's hard to beat the same team 3 times in a season. And they played them close both times. So potentially could be a path for Georgia Tech to get the end, and they're playing really well. No idea why Duke is 14-1 odds. They haven't shown me anything to show that they should be up there above Georgia Tech or North Carolina for that matter. Well, they're not above North Carolina, below North Carolina, but still, I love Georgia Tech here, and actually even some long shot value. Notre Dame, they've been having some good moments. They've upset some good teams, and so I like those two. My clear favorite, I think, is Virginia.
Oh, you're going with Virginia as your clear favorite in this one.
Yeah, I think Virginia should be able to roll through. Like I said, I look for that Virginia-Georgia Tech matchup potentially to happen, and that could be the winner. Florida State, I don't know. They play really good at Florida State, and then they really struggle on the road, and I just don't think they're consistent enough to run through a tournament.
Yeah, I can't get a feel on Florida State at all. If you had asked me probably 3 weeks ago, I probably would have told you Florida State was probably one of the top 8 teams, and now if you ask me, I'm thinking they could be right for like a first-round upset in the NCAA tournament. Virginia 350, probably like you said, your most solid chance consistency-wise to get through this tournament. I'm a little intrigued by Louisville here. I don't know why. They much like Florida State have been very good at home and completely atrocious on the road. So I don't know what neutral venue means to them, but when they're on that high end and playing at their best level, they really, really do seem to play all right. And Chris Mack has always been a really good tournament coach. So 5-1 there sort of piques my interest, but I've also seen Louisville lose by 30 and 40 to numerous teams this season. So that one scares me a little bit. I wanted to say North Carolina, but when I saw their odds at 5-1, I just didn't think there was much value there. If you could give me those Duke odds at like 14-1 with North Carolina, I'd be a little bit more interested. But at 5-1, I think you'd probably be better off just betting them game to game than taking them overall to win the tournament.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of Virginia Tech. I don't like the odds, so I don't think I go there, but they do have some really nice players on their team, so when they're humming, they seem to be okay, but I don't think they could get through a tournament. I think I'm with you. That value on Georgia Tech at 25-1 with the way they've closed out the season, honestly, you could probably say Georgia Tech has been the best team in the ACC probably the last month and a half or so. So I really do think there's good value in there. If you want to drop a little bit lower, Syracuse, they can beat teams like you saw this weekend, but I don't know if they can roll off a 4 tournament win. They actually might be 5 tournament, 5 victories. I can't remember if they got that first round bye or are playing that like 5 games in 5 days schedule. But Syracuse at 50-1. They have been able to beat some top level teams in this tournament, and I just really don't think anybody in the ACC really is so good that you can say they can't be beat in this tournament.
Yeah, we could see a total surprise here. That's why I said it may be worth taking a shot on a Notre Dame or like you said, a Syracuse, just because it could get interesting here.
I would avoid Miami, Boston College, and Wake. Those would be the only 3 I don't think could make any run at all.
Yeah, they've been pretty terrible, but I Notre Dame can shoot the ball well, and if they get hot, they can beat anybody.
Yeah, definitely. Your Notre Dame one and Syracuse were staring at me in the really extreme ones. Georgia Tech, of course, and I guess I'd probably maybe lean a little bit on Louisville just to see if they can get hot for 4 games in a row. But I really can't honestly say I know how they're going to come out in a neutral venue. All right, let's move to the Big 12. This one's pretty interesting. Baylor, favorite, -175. I don't know the last time Kansas was not the favorite to win the Big 12 tournament. It's possible it was like the Big 8. Kansas at 5-1, West Virginia at 6-1, Texas 7-1, Texas Tech 8-1, Oklahoma 10-1, TCU 150-1, Kansas State 300-1, and Iowa State 500-1. You have Baylor at the top here, but I think there are a couple teams who could run through this tournament and maybe surprise here, especially if I don't know how seriously Baylor has taken this tournament. I think their goals are NCAA tournament.
Well, I'm kind of surprised that Kansas is getting 5-1, considering they just beat this Baylor team, like a week ago?
Yeah.
A little over a week ago. So I actually think that's pretty good value for the second favorite team is at 5-1 odds. So I'll probably be jumping on them. But you get into that cluster of 4 teams right there: West Virginia, Texas, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma. I think any one of those could beat each other on any given day. I think overall, I like West Virginia the best out of all those as far as tournament play. Mm-hmm. Just their play style, I think, lends to help out in the tournaments. Strong defense and just tough physical team. So I like them, but I think Kansas. I mean, they struggled a little bit against UTEP.
Yes.
That kind of scared a lot of people. But other than that, I think they've finished really strong on the season. I think they went something like 10-1 in their last 11.
Yeah, they've been really impressive down the stretch.
So I think they're my go-to pick at 5-1 odds, but I wouldn't give anybody past Oklahoma. I mean, those bottom 3, no shot, I don't think. And Oklahoma's really struggled down the stretch, so even them I wouldn't really ride with too much. But talent-wise, any of those top 5 could take it. But Baylor's the clear favorite for a reason. But like you said, are they going to be going out to win this when they've already pretty much locked down a 1 seed? Unless they because they've probably got a bye in this tournament, so they're not even going to be going up against a poor team. So they don't even have an opportunity for a bad loss. So they really don't have a whole lot to gain here.
Yeah, I would stay away from Baylor at -175 at all costs.
Yeah, you're not. It's not worth it.
No. Like you said, Kansas at 5-1 is extremely good value for a team that has won this tournament numerous times and has been the dominant team in this conference forever. And the way they played the last 2 months after that Tennessee loss, they've really been humming again. So Kansas value. I dropped down to Texas Tech and Oklahoma. Oklahoma has not played well down the stretch, but Lon Kruger at 10-1 in a conference tournament. I don't know who's taking it serious and who isn't. I think there's a little bit of value there. Texas Tech at +800 with Chris Beard. The last 4 years while he's been at Texas Tech, they've probably been the second best team in this conference. Some could say the best team in this conference. So those are pretty nice odds. I don't know if they can run the table or not, but I thought there was decent value in there. Texas, I don't know if they could run the table at 7-1. They do play a style much like West Virginia's that, is not fun to play if you're fatigued and tired, which is why those two teams have a lot of tournament success. The West Virginia one, I at 6-1, I'd want a little more value. I'd want more in that, Texas range of 7-8-1, just because they're the ones who have to come across half the country to come play in this tournament, which I hate. But their play style, and they've really been playing well too. So, they were neck and neck with Baylor. It wasn't this weekend. I believe it was last weekend when Baylor and West Virginia played and went into overtime. So, they're right there playing with these top teams. So, really very interesting where I could see any of these teams down to Oklahoma make a run here. But I can't turn my eye on that Kansas value at 5-1. That just screams to me like, yes, please.
Yeah, I still think that's just shockingly high for, they just beat Baylor. And they've shown no reason to, they haven't. I don't think they've lost since that game against Baylor.
No, they haven't.
Because their loss to Texas was prior to that, right?
Yes, it was.
I don't quite understand. I get the overall season record. They were way behind Baylor, but as terms of where they're at now, I think Kansas is right there with Baylor, and getting those 5-1 odds. I think that's the easy play here.
Yeah, if you take out that weird stretch where they, randomly lost like 4 or 5 games in a row, I think you'd put Kansas up there in the top teams in the country. They had that weird 3-week stretch where they couldn't get a win and weren't playing well. But before and after that, they've been a really, really good team. And so the Kansas value, I don't think you can turn away. But we'll move to the Big East tournament. And this one has gotten quite interesting. I'm very curious how you're going to handicap this one. You have Creighton now the favorite, but they have all sorts of mess going on with their coach and stuff at their school at plus 150. You have Villanova, who's half their starting 5 is hurt right now, at plus 200. You have Xavier at plus 400, UConn at plus 500, Seton Hall at plus 800, Providence at plus 4,000, Marquette at plus 5,000, St. John's at plus 6,600, Butler at 8,000, Georgetown and DePaul at 10,000 apiece. So I'm really curious where you're going to go here. I think I have a inkling where you're first going to pin your eye, but where are you looking at the Big East?
Like most years, I think this Big East tournament is going to be quite a thriller. There's a lot of teams here that could win that, especially with the struggles on the top tier teams. I really like UConn here. Just with book night and the star player value that can carry you through a Big East tournament, and Creighton without their coach now, sometimes they could use that as motivation, and maybe they'll use that to push them through this tournament. I don't know. One other team I look at as far as value there's 2 teams past UConn that I like. I look at Providence at 2,000 or 40-1, sorry, 4,000. They can play solid defense and are really efficient with the ball, and they've come in and they've upset some teams. They're kind of hot and cold, but if they stay hot, they could run through a tournament. And the other team I like is St. John's. They've been playing pretty well down the stretch too. And at 66-1 odds, it's worth taking a shot. But my outright my favorite, I think, here is UConn.
Yeah, I was gonna lean a little bit towards Xavier, but that sandwich right there at Xavier at 4-1, UConn at 5-1, I think is really good value here, especially with these top 2 schools.
I've taken Xavier too much this year. They've let me down too many times. I'm not going to jump on them again. I think UConn had a really slow start to the year, partially because Booknot did not play. And since he's come back, they've actually been surging and playing pretty well, pretty consistent. And I think they're a team that could go on a run here.
Yeah, I will stick with my Xavier just because I can't quit them. It's odd to not see them as a upper tier team. This is probably the first year in a little while that they've been this down, but I still think they can make a run. You're right about UConn. They've actually probably the last 6 weeks have been really, really good. I cross out Seton Hall. I think they're
Yeah,
just dead in the water. Your Providence has been a little spunky. I was going to talk about Marquette ever since that North Carolina win. They haven't necessarily gotten more wins, but they've played a whole lot of close games. So if you're in games in tournaments, it just becomes shot making down the stretch. So if they can get that, I think they could be around. You're right about St. John's. That was the one that stuck out to me. I'm probably going insane to ride St. John's to get through this tournament.
They can score the basket.
But
I mean, the way they shoot the ball, if they get on a streak, they can run through some teams quick.
yeah, that's my feeling. I mean, we took them the last 2 weeks in games, and they've just rolled teams because they've been hot. Now, if the shots don't start going in, we could possibly see a loss to a Georgetown or DePaul. So,
how many teams do we see? Cinderella teams and stuff that they can shoot a three, and all of a sudden they go on a run, and come tournament time, that could happen here with that St. John's team.
yeah, so St. John's stuck out me. Xavier and UConn stuck out. I was curious about your feelings on Butler. They have been bad for most of the season, but the last probably 3 weeks, they've been a little bit spunkier. If they get a Villanova or Creighton who's not playing well, do you think there's any life in that Butler to make maybe a run here?
I just don't see them scoring enough points
Yeah.
to pull off an upset over one of these teams, and unless they can just make it a really ugly game. But some of the top tier teams in this conference just shoot the ball really well, and I don't think you're going to get that ugly defensive battle.
Yeah, I agree. They've been a little spunkier the last couple weeks. We didn't talk too much about Creighton. I think if Creighton's playing at the top of their game, I do think they're probably the best team in this conference, but I don't know if they will be at the top of their game.
Nova just beat them a little bit back, but they also, they lost one of their players in that game, but he played some, and then they still had another guy. And I think if they rematch right now, Creighton would probably be the best team, but we'll see how much pressure this media attention on their coach and this whole drama. Sometimes stuff like that, good players can just shrug it off and keep playing basketball, and it makes no difference. I think they're the favorite, but at 150 odds, it's not really worth putting any money on. I would rather go down to UConn or Providence or heck even St. John's.
Yeah, I think that's a good bets there. All right, let's move to the Big Ten tournament. That notoriously has had teams not really care too much about. So it'll be very interesting to see who's decided the Big Ten conference tournament means something and who it doesn't mean anything to. We got Michigan as the outright favorite at plus 150. Ohio State randomly coming in as the second favorite here, though I'm really stunned by their play the last couple weeks at 350. Iowa at 350. Illinois at 350. Purdue at 1,000. Are you eyeing Purdue yet? Wisconsin at plus 1,500. Rutgers at plus 2,500. Michigan State at plus 3,500. Maryland at 5,000. Minnesota at 5,000. Indiana at 6,600. Northwestern at 15,000. Penn State at 20,000. And Nebraska at 30,000. So where do you see this Big Ten tournament unfolding?
Gosh, you could throw darts at this board here and pick a winner.
Yeah, I know.
Ohio State has been terrible the last 2 weeks, just absolutely terrible. They can't close out games. They don't have that consistent go-to scorer. Michigan just lost a player against Michigan State yesterday, and they didn't. I don't think they really tried in that game. They had already clinched the 1 seed and the Big Ten championship, but. It'd be interesting to see how they recover. Iowa's been way too inconsistent for me. Not a big fan of them. Illinois, I think, is probably going to be my favorite here. I think Dosumu's been carrying that team even with the mask. And, sometimes in these conference tournaments, those stars like to shine and carry a team through. And I think he's definitely got the potential to do that. Past that, Michigan State they've had some outlier games where they just look like the best team in the Big Ten, and then they disappear and lose by 20 the very next game. So
if you take that
after
one,
I take
yes, if you take Michigan State, be prepared for a very bad game where they score like 30 points. So just a warning.
Maryland's been playing pretty well, and at 50 to 1 odds, it might be worth a look at because they've actually gone and got some solid road wins too. So they may have what it takes, but I think very top heavy in this conference again. But I think Ohio State's got enough to get by the first few teams for sure. I don't think they can beat a Michigan or an Illinois at this point. So I'm going to take Illinois at the 350 odds, but still, I'm probably. I don't know if I'll even put any money on it this conference. I may bet some of these games game to game.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anybody worth taking a shot on right now.
Yeah. I was going to say I would bet this tournament game to game. You were right about Maryland. That 50-1 probably would be. They've at times been an elite level team this year. Far too inconsistent to, really trust.
One thing I've noticed a lot in Big Ten this year, because as you know, they're my favorite conference to bet on this season. A lot of these teams play much better at home. You look at Rutgers, they beat some good teams, but only at home. You look at Minnesota early on in the year, they were beating some good teams, but only at home. Even Iowa hasn't gotten very many road games wins this year. So I look at that, and that's one thing I see where Maryland shined. So at 50-1, that away from home experience and performing well away from home could help in a tournament. So I like that there. But talent-wise, I think Illinois is the best team here.
Yeah, you're right about that. A lot of these teams are very good at home and been very poor on the road, and I just don't know how to read what a neutral site venue is really going to do. Maryland, I look at Rutgers and I want to, but I just, I can't trust them outside of New Jersey here, so I wouldn't touch that one. Wisconsin intrigues me at 15-1 a little bit just because you might not like the style of play, but you know what you're going to get game to game. Illinois, I'm a little nervous about, sort of packs this in and is like, we're playing for the NCAA tournament. You can take your conference tournament and shove it. I'm a little worried about that with Michigan as well. I think you saw that over Michigan State. And with a guy getting hurt in that game, it's like, we want a real banner up and not some random conference tournament title up here. Iowa intrigues me a little bit just because I know Fran McCaffrey is insane, and he would be the one who would push the button to try to actually win this conference tournament. It would probably mean more to an Iowa than, like a Michigan or an Illinois, who's won this conference tournament numerous times. So that would be the only way. I just don't know what to make of Ohio State. Right before that Michigan game, I think we were both like, I think this team's probably a Final Four team, and now they've played ever since that Michigan game. We're like, are they going to get to the Sweet 16? So, I just don't know what to make of them. I wouldn't trust Purdue in a neutral site. They've been a little too inconsistent. And anything really below Maryland, Minnesota, Indiana, Northwestern, Penn State, Nebraska, that's just probably fodder. I guess Penn State maybe occasionally is spunky and live. They were this weekend, but the previous 3 weekends, they were not spunky or live. They were pretty awful. So
I think me and you went back and forth. I would kept going against Penn State, and you kept taking them. And
I finally decided not to take them, and then they spring their stupid upset. So I would stay away from that, and I don't see a lot of value in this conference tournament unless you wanted to ride Maryland, probably 50-1, just because they've been probably the most of the middle tier teams, consistent road and home wise, at least play style wise. All right, let's move to the Conference USA tournament. I'm very interested to get your take on this one. I know you're a big fan of Western Kentucky, who come out as the favorites at plus 140, North Texas at plus 250, Marshall at plus 300, UAB at plus 400. So those top four teams really are pretty solid. And then we have a pretty big drop off here. Old Dominion at plus 1600, Louisiana Tech at plus 2000, UTEP at plus 2000, UT San Antonio at 2500, Charlotte at 2500, MTSU at 5000. FIU and FAU are both 6,600 and Southern Miss. And your boys, Rice. Are you taking Rice to make a big Cinderella run through Conference USA at 10,000?
I doubt it. I love Rice. They won me a lot of bets this year. Not necessarily for winning all their games, though. They were covering, but that doesn't exactly help you in a conference tournament. So,
Well, maybe we could get you to take them in the first round as a nostalgia move.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Um, uh, these top four teams are the clear favorites here. Um, I love Western Kentucky. I think they're the team out of this conference that competes well against other big time Power Five schools and such. Uh, North Texas is pretty good. As far as value, I look down. There's one team that really sticks out to me, and that's Louisiana Tech at plus 2,000. I think they might be worth taking a shot. Just I think they've got some good experience on that team. They've played well throughout the year. But Western Kentucky's the favorite here. I can't take any of those guys down below Louisiana Tech at all. And so
I liked both the value. I don't know if I take them, but the value in Old Dominion and Louisiana Tech. Old Dominion has a style of play that literally no one wants to play. It harkens back to the 1960s where it's defensive and hold the ball, and that tends to make people uncomfortable, especially as the games slow down in these tournament junctures. So maybe they could go on a little bit of a run. Louisiana Tech, like you said, is very experienced and has a pretty good team, but every time they've stepped up to play one of these top teams, they haven't really contended. So I mean, you know what you're getting in Old Dominion and Louisiana Tech. They're much better than the teams below them, but they aren't quite probably at the level. Western Kentucky really probably head and shoulders, I think, above everybody else, but you could talk me into Marshall. I've watched them play a handful of times this year, and they really, when they get going, they can really play well. The value there at plus 300, I don't know, is quite there. UAB is solid and enjoyable to watch, but I don't think the value at plus 400 is there either, especially versus Western Kentucky, and actually North Texas is really much better than those two teams as well. I think North Texas just went to Marshall and won a week ago. So you can see you probably have Western Kentucky, a line, North Texas, and then another line, and you probably have Marshall and UAB in this one. But I don't know if there's value there at plus 140 in Western Kentucky or not.
yeah, I think this is another good conference to just go game by game rather than picking a winner right now. Um, you could see an upset and then see what happens after that. But picking an outright winner here, other than Western Kentucky, I think is a long shot.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we'll move to the MAC, who I'm also very curious about because this is actually a pretty deep conference. Toledo has been outright the best team in this, but the teams below them are not that far off from them. So, I mean, really, I could see a lot of different teams making a run at this one. Toledo is the favorite at plus 250. Buffalo comes in at plus 300. Ohio is plus 300. Ball State at 450. Akron at 500. Eastern Michigan at 800. Bowling Green at 1,200. Miami of Ohio at 1,800. Kent State at 1,800. Northern Illinois at 5,000, Central Michigan at 5,000, and Western Michigan at 10,000. Really, even down to a Kent State down there. They've played some good games. Can they make a run through the whole tournament? I don't know, but really, Toledo to Kent State, these are all pretty solid teams, so it could be a pretty messy tournament here. I'm curious how you're going to handicap this.
Yeah, I like Kent State there. Their win-loss record's pretty solid for the odds they're getting. But this is going to be some good games, I think, some good basketball to watch. I like Akron actually as another team that I could go
I've
with.
liked watching them all year long, and they've been pretty fun to bet on. I've bet on them a couple times. I think because it's Akron, everybody assumes they aren't very good at basketball, but they've been getting some pretty decent odds if you watch them.
Yeah, so if you're going to take one of those top teams, you might, like you said in the past, you might as well just go game to game. But I think you get 5-1 odds is pretty good for Akron, and below that, Kent State's good. Um, Heck, you maybe even take a long shot with Central Michigan. I would stay away from like Northern Illinois and a few others, but this is another one of those tournaments where I think anybody can get in here, and that's the beauty of March here is you could have a team that's struggled all year run through this tournament and get into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I would not advise taking any of those top teams, Toledo, Buffalo, Ohio, because I just think this conference tournament is going to be a bloodbath, and you just cannot pick who's really going to come out of here. Toledo has been very, very good, and I'd honestly like to see Toledo get into the NCAA tournament because I think they have the ability to beat some of these top tier teams. They played Michigan really early in the year, and they played them pretty well. So they do have that ability, but there's not much drop off from Toledo to Buffalo to Ohio, Ball State. Even we said it. Kent State at 1,800 is a solid team and can. I mean, if they get hot, make a run through here. I do like Ball State at plus 450 if I had to choose one. They play a real up and down style of play that scores a lot. Now, they are pretty poor defensively, which doesn't always work out all that great in March. So, a lot of this just who matchup based might be who ends up winning this tournament because a lot of these teams match up well versus one team and don't match up well versus the other. So, really hard to make a call here. If I was going to say any, I'd probably just look at that Ohio Ball State little contingent there because I've liked the way they played. But this should be a really entertaining tournament to watch. All right, let's go to the Mountain West, and this one should be a really interesting one too. It drops off pretty quickly, but those top teams I think are all really, really good teams. We'll start out with San Diego State at plus 150, Utah State at plus 200, Boise State at plus 300, and Colorado State at plus 400. Those are the ones who I think will make it through, but. Then you got a little bit of a drop off in UNLV at 2,500, Nevada at 2,500, Wyoming at 6,600, and then really, really a huge drop off. Fresno State, 10,000, New Mexico, 25,000, San Jose State, and Air Force at 30,000. So a really elite top, and I wouldn't say a bad middle tier there in the UNLV, Nevada, Wyoming. They aren't great, but I think. You always have to watch out because it is played on the Thomas and Mack floor, and UNLV always tends to make a little bit of a run there.
I think you could skip this one to either Friday or Saturday, whichever day we're going to have the Final Four. I think the top 4 seeds are going to be there.
Yeah.
And out of those 4, I really like Utah State. I've liked them all year. I know Boise, I think, beat them back-to-back, but it was in Boise.
Yes.
So I'm going to go with Utah State. I think they're the best team. And San Diego State, I think they've got the best win-loss record, but I like Utah State all around.
Yeah, I was staring at that Utah State. They do like to make runs in these tournaments. So the value there, though, I just don't love. That would be one of those where, you're probably better off betting them a game to game than you would be to take that 2-1. Boise State is an interesting one because they do tend to struggle on the road. Can they win a handful of games in a neutral venue? I don't know. Colorado State has had some nice wins. I think they burned you a couple of times when you brought in a Utah State or a San Diego State or a Boise State in there. But once again, their advantage lies much more at home than it does on the road. And so what you're getting at a neutral venue, I don't know. I talked about it being on the Thomas and Mack Arena, so UNLV always has a little bit of an advantage there. Nevada still has some solid players, but definitely not up to the caliber that they've been the last handful of years. So maybe you look at that. And Wyoming was an okay against the spread team at home this year. I don't know how much that factors into the conference tournament, but anyway, if this was taking place in Laramie, I'd be a little more bullish on my Wyoming.
Yeah, I had UNLV yesterday against Wyoming in Wyoming, and they burned me. So
don't mess with Laramie. I I would lean a little bit towards Boise State here, but that's just possibly because I like watching them play, and I really want them to be in the tournament, and I'm scared they're going to screw over a couple of these Mountain West teams so we can get some really bad Big Ten and ACC teams in the tournament.
Is San Diego State, you believe, the only team in the NCAA tournament as of right now? Maybe Utah State?
If I was making my, if they put me on the tournament committee, I would have all three of those, San Diego, Utah, and Boise in there. But my guess is both Utah State and Boise need to make a run. I don't know if they need to win it. But now we go to one where I really don't know who is good. So I'm going to need you, a Pac-12 expert, to handicap which one of these teams will be able to win 4 games in a row, because I'm not quite sure any of them have won 4 games in a row all season long. So USC, the favorite at plus 150, Colorado at plus 200, Oregon at plus 350, UCLA at plus 400, Stanford at plus 2,000. Arizona State at plus 2,500, Utah at plus 3,300, Washington State at plus 8,000, Oregon State at plus 10,000, Washington at plus 20,000, and California at plus 20,000. So I said I needed your help. You break it down for me. Where are we going in this Pac-12 tournament of bad teams?
Well, as far as who I think is going to win, I like Oregon. They just won the regular season yesterday, and I think they're playing pretty solid basketball now. They had a little slump there about a third of the way into the season. They've dug their way out of that. USC's very up and down. I mean, Oregon's been a little up and down, but I think they've been a little bit more consistent here as of late. I like the big man play out of Stanford. They can rebound and defend pretty well, but their offense is very inconsistent. Arizona State is one I like value-wise at 25-1. They got some players back, and they've been streaky here. And if they get hot shooting, they could run through this. And another team I actually like value-wise, and they've been upsetting some people, is Oregon State at 100-1 odds. I think that they might be worth taking a look at. I'd stay away from Washington. I'd stay away from Cal, and really, there's some good value plays here that they could get on a run. Utah's pretty solid. Washington State got hot there for a minute, but then they've been slumping back down, which I think I've just been describing what you were just describing about Pac-12. There's not much consistency, but I think potential is kind of what you have to go by here. And I think Oregon and Arizona State are my two that I'm going to go with.
Well, we're on the same wavelength. My first thought was Oregon makes this run, and they usually have been lately the best team to make a run here. And then my eye shot right to Stanford and Arizona State, both sandwiched there at 20-1 and 25-1. It hasn't always been pretty to watch, and I think they've disappointed us numerous times on the year. But when they hit their levels, they really are. They can play with these top teams in here. I was curious about your thoughts on Colorado. Much like everyone else in the Pac-12, when they're good, they're very good. But when they're bad, they're capable of losing to a Washington or a Cal. So I was just curious what your read is there.
I think I turned my back on Colorado when I picked them against like a Washington State or somebody, and then they lost by 20. I can't remember which game it was.
I know it was a very bad team.
I haven't looked back since that game, because I was actually early on in the year, I was really big on Colorado. They were getting a lot of hate. They were, top 10 Ken Palm and weren't even in the top 25 AP. And but I think they've proven some of the AP voters right going on through the season. I don't know. I think like you just said, when they're hot and they're playing their basketball, they can do well. But I think they lack the star power that could carry them.
It seems too easy to get them out of their style of basketball. When you mentioned when they lost to that Washington State or Washington, whichever it was, by a lot of points. Southern Cal had the fun victory over the weekend. 150, I see absolutely no value in them. They have the recruits. I'm not sure they're a very good team, though.
I find it interesting that any team in here is getting that good of odds. because I don't see them as that big of a favorite, in my opinion.
I think maybe they were basing it off of future NBA draft potential, not what has occurred during the season. The last second shot over the weekend for a UCLA team that had lost like 4 in a row was highly disturbing.
Well, and I don't know how many people this year have actually watched much Pac-12 basketball. It really hasn't been that great.
No.
Most teams are shooting like in the 30%. What I look at here is the teams that rebound the ball well have been the teams that have been winning the most games. And Oregon.
That's why my eye went right to the Arizona State and Stanford in the middle there. Plus, I trust their coaching a little bit more than I do the USC and Colorado coaching.
This is a tournament that really could just come down to just X's and O's and basic basketball fundamentals.
That might be also why I went right to Oregon as well. Dana Altman, Bobby Hurley, those guys I trust. I don't know if I trust the other guys.
For those reasons, I'm kind of staying away from USC and UCLA.
Yeah. All right. We'll move to last, the SEC tournament, the hometown tournament. This should be very interesting. Some non-SEC, well, it's always been non-SEC. That's not Kentucky as a favorite. So it's very interesting to not see Kentucky up there. But I think to see Alabama and Arkansas, ever since Nolan Richardson has no longer been there, up at the top is very interesting. And then to see Alabama, Arkansas, and Tennessee, I'm not sure has ever occurred in an SEC basketball tournament as your favorites, but Alabama at plus 225, Arkansas at plus 300, Tennessee at plus 350, Florida at plus 500, Missouri at plus 600, LSU at plus 1,000, Kentucky at plus 1,600, Ole Miss at plus 3,500, Mississippi State at plus 5,000, South Carolina at plus 15,000, Georgia at plus 20,000, A&M at plus 30,000, and Vanderbilt at plus 50,000. Where are we going here? I'm very curious. Are you going to take one of these top 3 non-traditional teams to make a run here?
Well, looking back at SEC tournament history, if it's not Kentucky, it's usually just some like off the wall nobody that manages to make a run and get to the NCAA tournament.
Any life with Vanderbilt, they seem to be the team playing the hardest the last 2 weeks.
They actually are playing pretty well, which got me burned taking them plus 8.5 the other day. But I think Arkansas is playing the best basketball right now.
They are.
One of the hottest teams in the country. Won 11 straight. Had a little bit of a scare yesterday against A&M. Thank you. They're playing Texas A&M, but they pulled it out, and that's what good teams do. If I was, back to the wall, had to pick one team, that'd be who I'd take. But I think there's a nice little window for value right there. Missouri and LSU at 6-1 and 10-1 odds. LSU's got a lot of talent on that team. And while they don't play defense, a short conference tournament like this, up and down kind of street ball, high offense, they could be pretty successful with that. And then, you go look at Konzo Martin in Missouri.
The exact opposite.
Yeah, the opposite of that. But it's another style that plays well in tournaments.
That's correct.
So I think for value-wise, those two right there is the nice little window. Beyond that, you're really just taking a shot in the dark, and above that, you might as well just take them game to game.
Yeah, we're thinking the same thing. I really stared at that LSU at plus 1,000. I mean, if you ranked talent-wise, I think you'd probably put LSU on top. If you ranked effort in games on the defensive end, they probably would be at the bottom. So can they make a run through the tournament in a game where some team slows them down and they actually have to defend for more than 5 possessions in a game? I don't know, but basketball, I tend to lean towards talent, and they got a lot of talent. So that value at plus 1,000, I really like. Mizzou just plays a style that just drives team nuts in tournament. Game slows down. It's physical. It's pretty much gross to watch, but it gets results. So you can't argue with it if it's getting the right results. So I'd look at Missouri at plus 600, Arkansas is playing the best, like you said. I do like Alabama a little bit just because it's not a common thing for them to win an SEC tournament basketball. So I think, they will push in this tournament. It won't be one of those where they're, half effort in thinking about next week when the real tournament starts. So I think they might make a push to really try to win this because it probably would be cool to have that banner in their arena where, Kentucky has 50,000 of those banners in their arena, and they aren't really caring if they win the SEC conference tournament. But at plus 225, I don't know if I like that. They do get the nice triple bye, so they aren't playing till Thursday or Friday. So
Friday.
Yeah, so I mean they will be rested and ready to go. Arkansas, we talked about. We didn't touch on Tennessee. Any chance they can pull off consistency and winning numerous games in a row without having the dud where they score 50 points?
Watching them yesterday, I thought they played pretty well in the second half, and I've seen them play like that many times this year, but I've never seen them sustain that play, and I don't have much faith in them right now. I've been burned too many times jumping back on board with them, and just offensively, I don't think they have enough to get it done. Now, they do have that double bye, but I don't know if that's the best thing for them right now. I think they need to I think they need another game here right now to keep this momentum going off this Florida game. And I think the way I understand it is if Florida beats their easier team they play on Thursday, they go right back and play Tennessee on Friday. I think that's who Tennessee's going to end up playing again. So that'll be interesting to see the third battle between those two teams this year.
Yeah. Two more teams I'll ask you about. We'll start with Ole Miss. There was a 4-week run there where they decided to be good. The 3 weeks after that, they had decided to be awful again. Any chance that they get another week run of good games in them?
Well, this is one of those teams that could come out like I was talking about earlier. Just one of those, just something weird happens. Going back, is either Kentucky or it was just some oddball team. Yes. And I think this could be one of those oddball teams that could potentially go through. I definitely like their chances more than a South Carolina, Georgia, or Mississippi State for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess we have to touch on Kentucky. Any life there to make a run? I don't even know if they're overall all that talented to even make a run. If you ask me to rank talent, I don't even know if I'd put them in the top 3 or 4 amongst SEC teams.
I think Calipari lost this team a long time ago, and they've just been riding the season out. They're ready to move on and either go to next year or the NBA, one or the other.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So that's our conference tournament preview and picks episode. Be sure to be back tomorrow. We'll start picking games for these conference tournaments. That's our show. Be sure to follow us on greenlightnetwork.org, Greenlight Network on Facebook and YouTube. Dynamite, where can we find you?
Follow me on Twitter at GLN_D. I'll be putting out tweets for any games that come out early in the morning.
Yeah, definitely follow the Dynamite here because if we can't get it out for the tournament games start, he'll put them out so you know what picks you want to do. That's our show. Be sure to follow me at GLNChamp5 on Instagram and Twitter, and we're out.